Right, so today I wanted to talk a little bit more about Bitcoin and the crypto space as a whole, but um, Dan Held brings up a very good point here, and I wanted to dig a little deeper into it because I wanted to get ahead of the curve on this one. Now, it may take a while for me to be for me to be proven right about this stuff, but at the very least, I wanted to get ahead of the curve. And he points out in 2010 it doesn't work, 2015 too risky, 2021 bad for the environment. 2025, not fair. And this is, I think, what's going to end up happening is that um, when Bitcoin goes to a million, 2 million, wherever it goes to, um, that the new narrative will be, it's not fair. You guys made so much money off of it. We need to tax a bunch of it away, right? I guarantee, even though there already is taxes in most major countries, um, but that's still going to be the narrative, right? That's still going to be the narrative. Mark my words, I would bet money on it. That's what's going to end up happening because that's always what ends up happening, right? I mean, look at the current environment as well. Like anyone who is smart with their money, what do people want to do? Oh, it's not fair. You got to tax it away. I blow my money on beer and cigarettes, and you invest that money, and 20, 30 years down the road, you have a net worth of $1 million, and the other buddy has a net worth of 100 grand, and oh, it's not fair. Why you got to tax that money away? Like, no, it's you made stupid decisions, and it's the same thing with people right now. That smart people are getting into the crypto space, namely Bitcoin, but there's other ones as well. I think the privacy coins are very important to have some exposure to. I think Ethereum and Cardano with the whole NFT thing, I think could have some value to them as well. And I mean, I don't think Ethereum's going away either. Cardano maybe, but I mean, Ethereum, there's already a lot of the altcoins that are built on the Ethereum blockchain or whatever you want to call it, I believe. So I don't think Ethereum's going away. Their market, I mean, they may not be the second biggest crypto, they may, but they're not going away. So I think in the long run, I think Bitcoin and Ethereum are pretty safe in the long run, because there's going to be a ton of volatility. But I think they're pretty safe investments. Now, here's the thing: for all the people that say, "Oh, the government's going to regulate it," well, it would be easier to regulate Ethereum than it would Bitcoin, because Bitcoin, there's no one you can go after. Ethereum, you can go after people. And not to mention, too, I believe the whole setup is dependent upon Amazon Web Services as well. So that's another very concerning thing as well. But at the end of the day, I think if I had to pick between, I mean, I think four or five. I think Bitcoin, um, Pirate Chain, Monero, I think is decent as well. Ethereum definitely, and then maybe Cardano. And I think there's maybe 5 to 10 other ones that are intriguing, but those are definitely the clear top five in my mind. But like I say, there's definitely some other ones that are intriguing. But at the end of the day, 99% of the coins are useless. And here's the big problem with this, and I think it probably only gets worse, at least in the short run, is that had a lot of people get into the space that really shouldn't be in the space. That their main thing or their main trope is, it is the whole get rich quick thing. Is that we want you to pump some tiny altcoin with $100 million market cap. They People pump it because they get, they're following someone with a million or 5 million followers on social media told them to. It's a typical pump and dump, like what happened with Doge, right? I mean, it's still kind of happening, but Doge went to 90 cents Canadian, I think, and then everyone's buying in anticipation of Elon pumping it on SNL, which is a classic rookie mistake, and thinking that that's actually going to happen, because again, typically the opposite happens, and that's actually what happened, right? So um, this is the other problem with the space, like I said, is that you have these people that have really no business being in the space that are pumping shit coins in an effort to make a quick buck. And here's the thing that I would tell people is that if your reasoning for being in the space is to make a quick buck, please don't get in the first place. Like, please don't, because nobody really, nobody, well, the OG people definitely don't want you, but the people that are in it for the right reasons don't want you, because the problem with people like that is that they're the ones that contribute to the massive amount of volatility. Like, people, and it's very funny too, the people that complain about volatility are the same people that contribute to the volatility, right? In that the people that complain about the volatility, they're the noobs, right? They bought in at 70, 80,000 Canadian for Bitcoin, and it started to go down. They sold off, right? Proving that they don't know what they're doing, right? And this is the thing. If you look at the on-chain stuff that's going on, the vast majority of people that contributed to the sell-off in Bitcoin, they were the noobs, right? There were people with $100, $500, $1,000, but you look at the people that had, 1 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoin, 100, 1,000 Bitcoin, they weren't selling, they were buying. So this is the problem for all the people that complain about volatility out there. Stop trying to time the market. Either just buy all at once, or at the very least, just dollar cost average, right? Say I'm putting $100 of every paycheck, or whatever, $500, whatever amount you want to do, right? Do your own research, obviously, but do that, right? But stop trying to time the market. Stop trying to day trade this stuff. And that's part of the reason why the fees have gone up so much, right? And that the more transactions that are made, the higher the fees are going to be. So stop trying to do that stuff. It doesn't make any sense too. Like, and this is the other thing too. Like, who cares if you have a 200% return or a 205% return? Like, seriously, who cares? I don't get why people are and the main reason I point that out is because the transactions are so high, like, right, but um, and not to mention too, you're ruining it for other people as well. But anyway, that's a different story. The main thing I wanted to point out here too is that in the future, this is what people are going to say. It's not fair. It's not fair. But again, these are the same people that didn't want to listen, right? These are the same people that, oh, it's too risky, it's too volatile, it's a Ponzi scheme. Like, okay. And the reason why I'm so hard on these people, and the reason I'm pointing this kind of stuff out, is that these are the kind of people that need to lose money for the system to function, right? And this is something that the left and socialists don't seem to understand, is that if you want society to improve, you don't want to maximize resources into the hands of the least productive people. You want to do the opposite, in fact, and that you want the most resources to end up in the hands of the most productive people, because those are the ones that are going to be able to do the most with it. Like, in other words, if you have two farmers, you know, let's say you have 100 farmers, better example, and you take the best farmer and the worst farmer, who do you want to have the most land? Well, obviously it's the best farmer, because the best farmer is going to get the most crop out of it. The worst farmer is going to get the least. He may not get anything. But this is the left's worldview: is, oh, you got to balance everything out. It's not fair that someone has $1 billion, even though pretty much no one does, but still the point proven. It's going to be the same thing. It's not fair someone has a whole Bitcoin in the future, right? Or even two or three, even a half a Bitcoin maybe, right? It's not fair. We need to tax 90% of the wealth on any amount over 1 Bitcoin. Like, I guarantee you that is what's going to end up happening, right? And it's going to be hilarious too, because these are the same people 5 years earlier, upwards of maybe 10 years earlier, were mocking you. Oh, you're so stupid. You're going to lose all your money. You don't know what you're talking about. It's too risky. It's too volatile. Blah, 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 blah. Right? And this brings me to the whole, I want to get ahead of the curve on this one. Right? But I mean, I still think it's gonna have another big run up this year. Most of the people in the space seem to think so as well, but we'll see. I mean, no, and this is the other thing: no one knows for sure what's going to happen, right? The reason why I'm in the space is simply playing the odds, and this is the other thing people don't understand about investing, is that investing is entirely just playing the odds, right? Like, how many people out there still think bonds are a safe investment? Like, most people. Like most people in the investing space still think bonds are a safe investment, but they're really not, right? Because I mean, one of a handful of things is going to happen. The best case scenario in my mind is you continue to earn a yield that's lower than inflation. That's the best. It's the best case scenario is you lose 1 or 2% on your money. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is rates go up and you lose even more, right? So again, at the end of the day, it's simply playing the odds, right? And here's the thing: like even if Bitcoin has a 10% chance of going to 1 million, it's still a steal of a deal right now. And I don't know anyone who has any clue what they're talking about who doesn't think Bitcoin has at least a 10% chance of going to 1 million. Whether it takes a year, 10 years, 20 years, I don't care. Even if it takes 20 years, right? That means that it's still going to go up, what, 15 times? And that's still what, like, I don't know, 50% a year, right? Is 50% a year? Is that not good enough for you? Right? Like, again, like, and this is the thing, like I bring up too, that these are the people, we don't want them to be in the space either. Like, like if you know people like this, like, don't try and get them into the space. Like, really don't, because they're just going to be paper handed, right? And not to mention too, if you lose them money, they're probably going to hate you for it. But if you make them money, they're probably not going to be any more or less happier, right? So this is the thing, like, don't try and get people into the space who don't want to be in the space, because the only way people learn is the hard way, right? The only way people learn is the hard way. And what's that going to have to be? It's going to be them seeing, oh yeah, I remember that brother or uncle I had that, they bought a whole Bitcoin at 40 grand and now it's 1 million. And that's only 5 years later or 10 years later. Like, gee, I really should have listened to them, right? That's the only way people learn. And even then, a lot of people still don't learn. Like, it doesn't matter what happens, a lot of people still don't learn. But so that's the reason I bring this stuff up, is that number one, like I said, people are going to say it's not fair, or we have to tax it. Oh, you should, all this garbage, right? Um, and the other big thing too is that the people who make stupid decisions need to suffer the consequences of their stupid decisions, right? So the people who believe the BS about it, oh, it's bad for the environment. No, not true. That's been thoroughly debunked. Oh, it's too volatile. Well, who cares? The most risk, the highest returning assets. I mean, if you look at Amazon stock, look at basically every one of these tech stocks that grew 20-30% a year over the last decade. I mean, look at the Nasdaq, right? The Nasdaq, I think, grew about 20% a year. Very volatile, at least compared to the Dow or the S&P, right? So volatility typically correlates with return. And why is that? Well, why that is that the least intelligent investors are the ones that are least likely to get into those assets. And the most intelligent investors are the ones that tend to get into those assets, which is why you get the high returns, right? So, and not to mention too, if you look at the S&P, the best years for the S&P over the last 20 years have always been after a year with a negative return, right? 2009 was one of them. Well, the last year roughly. What was the other one? Like 01, 02, I forget which year. That's a long time ago. But again, if you look at this stuff, and this is the reason why I think Bitcoin's such a steal right now. Again, obviously my personal opinion, do your own research, but I think it's an absolute steal. And that I think that we're still very early on in the process, right? We're still very early on in the process. So um, anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. Like I said, but I really just want to point this stuff out because I don't think enough people are bringing this up, that this is what's going to end up happening. And here's the thing. If you tell people ahead of time, it's pretty hard. Well, I mean, they're still going to do it. But if you tell people ahead of time, it's pretty hard for them to complain in the future when it's like, yeah, we told you this. Like, we told you this. So Anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out those links below. Follow me on those other platforms. Uh, if you want to donate, you could do that as well. Again, I would very much appreciate whatever support I can get. But like I say, check out those links and stay tuned for more.